sentence arrangement 3, 1, 4, 2, 6, 5. Right? Yeah. So it seems like I don't think anybody has got any other sequence other than what is mentioned here. Okay, let's quickly unravel the mystery. Yadav is like, I am in office now. Okay, I have Deep Khanna with a different sequence, 316-425. Okay, so basically the mid sentences are differing. Okay, so let's quickly identify the topic sentence, right? So let's look at the first one. Expansion of retail banking especially has a lot of scope since retail assets are just 22% of the total banking assets. So when you have a lot of information given in a context, you can be rest assured that this either, comes somewhere in between or as an explanation because of the word especially, right? This is more of a descriptive clue word because you are expanding on something. So given the fact that this is what it is, so there is a pre-statement to this. So cannot be a topic sentence. 2, where they do not find it. So we don't know who this they is. Obviously there has to be a preceding sentence. 3, there is tremendous scope for the expansion of banking in India. So it seems like it sets the concept. Now if you look at the remaining sentences, right? 4th one says banks, class banking to mass banking. The second sentence also is talking about opening branches. The first sentence. So it seems predominantly that the paragraph is revolving around banking, right? And in these ways, this is again a very crucial clue phrase to identify that, there have been some ways discussed in the paragraph. So it almost seems like a closing sentence, right? So these are clues that you need to kind of quickly look at as soon as you look at the passage. They can also, so obviously we know 6th also cannot be our topic sentence. So having said that, the only thing that is giving us a pretext or a foundation where it is talking about the scope that is there for expansion of banking in India, right? Obviously we know that 3 is our topic sentence. So both of you are correct. So I look at recurring words in the passage and figure out what is the sentence that is giving me or laying the foundation saying, hey, this is what the paragraph is discussing, right? So very clearly we understand that 3 is that sentence. The next strategy when it comes to jumble sentence, right? There are only broadly 3 or 4 strategies if you ask me. So the first one is identifying the topic sentence. How did we eliminate other options? We looked at other keywords, right? They, especially descriptive clue word. So we kind of eliminated all the other ones. This is the first step and this is the easiest step. Everybody gets it correct. Second, we look at identify keywords or clue words within the sentence and see which is the sentence that is directly related or connected to it. So looking at this topic sentence, I have scope and expansion, which are my keywords. So obviously the next sentence that is expanding on that is option 1. Expansion of retail banking especially has a lot of scope, right? See, the descriptive clue word is saying how does it have a lot of scope? The reason is given. Since retail assets are just 22% of the total banking assets. So I know that 1 has to follow 3. So this is almost like a connecting link. 1 has to follow 3. And then we need to connect. Okay, what are the next connecting sentences? So couple of things that we see is 4 says banks can also diversify beyond cities to semi-urban and rural areas. So one of the keywords from 1 is how it is expanding, right? And it's given a reason. Retail assets are just 22% of the total banking assets. Now let's look at our remaining sentences. We have 2, 4, 6 and 5, right? So we can safely keep 5 as a parking lot because these ways have not been explained yet. So we don't have to touch 5. We have to choose only between 4, 2 and 6. Right? That is where the confusion is, in fact, here also. So let's look at it. There has to be some links. So can quickly, like how we said 1 has to follow 3, can you quickly look at these 3 and tell me what has to follow what and why? If someone can quickly identify that. Now I'm going to go one after the one, right? So 2 says where they do not find it viable to open branches, they may open. So who is this they? they may open satellite offices in these areas. What areas are they talking about? So when I look at it, it seems like, right, is there any sentence which is talking about some areas? Yes, 4 is talking about semi-urban and rural areas, right? Which means 2 has to follow 4, right? This is one connecting link. 2 has to follow 4, right? Why? Because these areas, they refers to the banks and these areas refer to the semi-urban and rural areas, right? So 2 has to follow 4. What about 6? So if you look at the pretext of 4, it says banks can also diversify beyond cities to these areas. How can they do that? 2 is one option, right? Where they do not find it viable to open branches, they may open satellite offices. And then 6 says they can also, who's the they referred again? To banks, right? They can also, apart from this, opening branches or satellite offices in these areas, they can also collaborate with local stakeholders in order to extend microcredit services to those living there. So these are the ways in which they can expand, which means 6 has to follow 2 because it says they can also, in addition to this, opening satellite offices in these areas, they can also collaborate with. So that's why it's 4 to 6. So instead of you focusing on how 4 is connected to 1, we look at that also, right? Because here 1 is again setting a pretext of how the banks can expand, right? And diversify is nothing but expanding. You are diversifying and expanding, right? So the right phrase is, or the right sequence is 3, 1, 4, 2, 6, 5. So one of you asked me, how is 4 connected to 1? 4 is only giving me or setting me a pretext saying, hey, this is how the banks can expand. They can diversify beyond cities too, right? So what have we done? 3 things. 1, we've identified the topic sentence, eliminating wrong answer options. 2, we've identified keywords within each sentence and we have connected 2 links. This sentence has to be linked to this. 3, what we've done is we've asked questions. Yeah, don't worry, Anubha, you're not the only one, right? That's the same problem with all of them. So those of you who said 3, I don't know how many of you said 3, 1, 6, 4, 2, 5, right? What you need to do is only ask the right questions and look for keywords. These areas, what areas, where these areas are mentioned, that has to be a connecting link. They is referring to who? Banks. Apart from this, you need to also focus on descriptive clue words. Now, when you look at the jumble sentence video in the English language section, right, the introduction has certain clue words that you need to pay attention to. So, there are clue words pertaining to sequence, finally, then, initially, next. There are clue words pertaining to cause and effect, because, since, as. There are clue words pertaining to description, especially, in addition to, also, furthermore, right? So, these things are given there in the introduction video. So what I would suggest is go through the introduction video, and the only way where you will be able to connect sentences is also by asking questions. So Natasha, to answer your question, it's not just practicing, it is knowing what to practice, right? So what do you need to practice? You need to be familiar with all the connecting link words, descriptive clue words. So when I have a descriptive clue word, usually that will not be my starting sentence or topic sentence, right? Because it's giving me additional information. Also, in addition, furthermore, which means they cannot be my topic sentence, they are additional sentences. Yeah? So I would say strategy for jumble sentence is only to be able to understand link words, narrow in or zero in on clue words so you can connect them. It's pretty much the same. This is also to do with economics and banking and finance. Yeah, so we're moving on. So this is the right 314265. Accordingly, you will be able to answer all the questions that follow. Having looked at this being the sequence, so obviously which of the following should be the third sentence after rearrangement will be, let's quickly answer that. Which of the following should be the first sentence? 3. Which of the following should be the fifth sentence was 6. Which of the following should be the sixth sentence was 5. And which of the following should be the second sentence was 1. Yeah, that's it. Accordingly, you get everything.